We have here, we have Lori Thompson, who's one of our practitioners and our certification fieldwork coordinator. And she has Disco. Disco's a 15-year-old cutting mare. She's been around a long time. She developed something behind that couldn't be explained. Did she have an injury, Lori? Yeah, she had a suspensory ligament problem, and it was treated and it healed. And the vet signed it off that the ligament's healed now, but something behind is not quite right. And she's been off for a year now. They haven't been riding her because of this problem. And so I asked for horses like this that still had something that wasn't quite right that we could take a look at. And often the body work will help the horse to release the muscles that have been compensating for that. Now she's had other things in the past too. She's always been uncomfortable on the left lead. For the owner said for as long as she can remember since she got her. So that's another thing that might have been a muscle problem before that might go along with her injury. But in any case, there's something that's still causing her to be knocked out. And we have Otis. Otis does mounted patrol, police work, or sheriff. Volunteer search and rescue, yeah. And he's your trail horse too. And he's a very solid, sound horse. And but every once in a while, something will cause him to buck, and it's intermittent, and it just comes out of nowhere. And he's been with a very good trainer. Who's the trainer? Michael Sparley. And it's helped him immensely with his canter. It's gotten very smooth, but every once in a while, something causes him to buck. And that's not his nature, right? It's not his personality. It just comes out of nowhere. So it's a mystery thing. Now he hasn't had any injuries or anything that might be associated with it, but it's a mystery. So that's what I was asking for, mysteries. So, and over here we have Trace. Trace is a champion show horse. I don't remember if Marcia was here. I'd ask her specifically. There she is. Yeah. 7-year-old paint. She's been discipled a year and a half ago. Yeah, so his disciple was treated by a vet, so he was under a vet's care until the disciple was healed. And he was still not quite right. And that's pretty not quite right. He would buck every time that you rode him. He was telling you that something was still bothering him. And you had some other work done on him. I think you've had sacroiliac injected, and so there was other work. And so he's slowly gotten better, but he's still stiff down the right side. There's something still there that's affecting his performance. So he's a mystery issue, or he's not lame, he's sound, but there's something there that's not quite right. So that's we've had Disco, and we've had Trace here all weekend, and we've had them into demonstrations, and we've been doing some body work on them. And we're going to, on our newsletter, we're going to post the results of the body work when they take their horses home and they go back to work in a week or two. We have a monthly email newsletter that we put out. We're going to post the results of the body work on that to see if that helps with that any or not. You know, sometimes you can get the horse to release deep retention in the core muscles and groin muscles that the horse has been using to compensate for the issue, and there's an improvement. So the way I look at it is that we're not trying to fix a horse. We're trying to make an improvement in the horse. And the reason I say that is because if you get too focused on trying to fix something in the horse in turn is going to start to brace against it when you're doing the body work. And you're going to be less successful. But if you make an improvement, and then you make another improvement, and you make another improvement, that's the best way to approach this type of thing. And another thing is, the whole body is interconnected. If you get focused on where the problem is, and you might help that problem, the rest of the body is still compensating for it, or it's still, there's stuff going on that's associated with it. So you have to do the whole horse, and not look at it as you got to fix this problem. You have to, the best way to fix the problem is just to work on the whole horse and make a healthy horse. So healthy muscle. Um, the Masterson method, and most of you already know what it is, right? So, but we'll demonstrate how what the responses are, and the levels of pressure we use on these guys. And you guys could actually, you don't, I'm gonna have to do it on him. Yeah, yes. Okay, so come over here, Otis. What we're gonna start with is, how many people know about the bladder meridian? Okay, so maybe a third or a quarter of you. The bladder meridian technique is a technique we use to learn how to read and follow the responses of the horse and to start to release tension in the overall in the body of the horse. The bladder meridian is a Chinese medicine meridian in the body that starts up here at the pole. Hey buddy, oh, you have the mane on both sides too. If you have horses with mane on one side, it's easier. So let's turn around this way, Ken. And let's move closer. Can we move in closer to the audience so they can see what's going on? Okay. And anybody can do this. You can go home and do this after leaving here. If there's a horse standing around, you do this to the horse. No, don't do it unless you ask the owner. But we're going to follow this line that starts up here at the pole. And it's just a road map. We're not doing any kind of meridian treatment or Chinese medicine treatment. We're just using this line as a road map. It goes a couple inches off the top line of the horse. It comes over the scapula next to the withers here. Just go a couple inches off the middle and up here to the croup. And when you get to the croup, it splits off and heads down for this groove between the hamstring muscles. That's called the poverty groove for some reason. Otis isn't in a lot of poverty. Stand up. Don't go anywhere. That's good boy. And it follows this line down between the hamstring, just down the side of the leg, just an inch or so off the back of the center line of the leg, through the hock, down between these flexor tendons, goes over the fetlock, and it terminates here on the coronary band. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the lightest level of pressure that we do with this method, which I call air gap, which is not just barely touching the hair. And we're going to follow that line slowly down the horse with our fingers, and we're going to watch his eye for a response, a subtle response. The most common subtle response is a blink, when the horse blinks. What's happening is, if you go down there and you find a blink, the horse is telling you there's something there, but he's not yet bracing against it because we're not giving him anything to brace against. Does that make sense? When we find a blink, we're going to just stop there and do nothing. Don't push, don't rub. You can just, don't be tempted to do something. Just wait for the horse's body to start to send circulation there, and the horse will start to release some tension there. And we know he's releasing tension when he gives us another response, such as licking and chewing, dropping his head, snorting and sneezing. That's how it works. It's called search, response, stay, release. Does it make sense so far? Still? Am I still on track? All right. Another thing that'll happen is when you find something in the horse that he's just been ignoring or covering up, he'll start to fidget and fuss. So Otis here is a very stoic horse. So he's probably not going to fidget and fuss, but we're going to have to watch closely for that subtle response. Whereas Trace, when we find something on him, he lets us know. Now all Lisa's doing is resting her hand very lightly there. She's not pushing, she's not doing anything to hurt him. But she's brought his attention to something, his awareness to something, and that he was just blocking out before, so he's feeling it, which is a good thing. When they feel it, their body will start to send circulation there. See, and now he's releasing, snorting, sneezing, pawing, that's fidgeting. Does that make sense? So that's what's going on, yeah? It depends on the horse. I like to work in the stall because if the horse wants to move around, I like to give him space to move around, but I don't want him to leave the building. So I don't want to be chasing him down the road, you know. Yeah, it's better if they can take a few steps because every once in a while they want to move just because they'll feel trapped. And somebody asked yesterday, can you do this in the cross ties? Yes, you can do it in the cross ties, but sometimes the horse wants to move. If the horse, it's better to do it in the stall. But I've done it in the cross ties if the horse doesn't start to feel trapped. So we're going to start here with Otis, right here, just using air gap, nothing up my sleeve, no tricks. Slowly come down here, lightly watching his eye. He's a very stoic horse, so he is going to try to hide stuff. Now his eye flickered a little bit, So I'm going to stay there, okay? Now, if you're not sure he's doing that because of me or because of something else, go back over the same spot. And if you get a response at the same spot, there, exact same spot, almost to the hair, then it means something, right? Then it means something. It's not just a horse blinking, there's a correlation. So I'm going to just, with my fingertips or my palm, just stay very lightly there on that spot. He's feeling something. He did a minimum like in 2. But it usually, the hard part with this is the search for the response and then stay with it till you get a release. The hardest part for us is the stay. See, he's starting to let go a little bit. For humans, we hate doing nothing, you know? It's not working, we better push on it. Oh, if this works, what if I push on it? I'll even get it more. It's a little counterintuitive. You gotta give the horse's body a chance to release it, okay? Now the next step for him on Otis would be, should I stay here longer or should I move on? Well, I get the sense it's working, so I'm gonna stay a little longer, okay? And just to see what happens. If you lose your spot, just search around there again, right there, until you get the blink. Now, it might seem silly that you're letting the horses blink and tell you what to do, but it works, so deal with it. Okay, we're going to stay a little longer. Now they start to fidget, so there may be something bigger coming up. Now, if nothing else comes up, we'll just move on, okay? Otis is a very stoic horse, and with these techniques that we use, you start to figure out pretty quickly what kind of horse you have. You have a very stoic, guarded horse. You have a very expressive horse or a horse that trusts you. It doesn't take long to figure it out. Now Otis he's pretty stoic. I gotta keep zeroing in back on this. Now if nothing else happens, I'm gonna move on. Every once in a while when you're doing this, it helps to step back from the horse and see what he has to say, because the horse might be holding it in because it's their nature not to show weakness. So, and you step back from them and give them a chance to feel it. Hey bud, we're over here. Come on over here with me. Then they'll often show you a release step. All right. Are there any questions while I'm waiting here? Yeah.
I'm just really after I do have your book and I've seen some lectures. I found that sometimes if I find a spot, my hand gets really warm. Is that
Yeah, she said she does this. Sometimes she finds a spot in her hand and it's really warm. What that means is your hand is getting really warm. No, now some people that do Reiki and energy work, they'll feel stuff going on that I don't feel. And heat is often, the heat can be from you, or often when the horse starts to send circulation to that area, that you feel the heat. And that happens quite often, as you mentioned, when we're working on other areas of the horse. I'll go back over and run my hand and I'll feel a lot of heat there where circulation has come to an area where the muscles were very tight, and when the muscles relax, the circulation causes it to warm up. But it could be coming from the horse, or it could be coming from you. But a lot of people do say that they feel something in there that I don't feel, but I'm going by with the visual cues. So, does that answer your question?
I have one more.
I have a minute. I think I have about 47 minutes.
I have a horse that really doesn't want me fussing with his head. I can ride a little cow him, but if I got to do anything around his neck or his head,
Right.
it's just like he's tall and his head goes up, and I don't want to step on something and have it back up.
Right.
Should I just start lower?
Yes. Yeah, her question was, she has a horse that's very comfortable around his head, and he's very tall. And so when you go to do anything, when you put his bridle on, he's okay, right? And when you do stuff like that, but when you do this light work, he can feel it, because he can block out. He can block this out. He can't block this out. So and you said, what should you start down lower? And that's the thing you do. If it's too uncomfortable for the horse somewhere, you go where it's more comfortable for the horse. And then you might be able to come back up here afterwards. That's one way to handle it. The other way to handle it, if you have a horse that just throws his head up in the air, he's telling you he's got something going on up there, right? It's obvious. But you can, let's say Otis is a big, tall horse that's very sensitive, and I know it's a stretch, but you put your hand up here and he throws his head up in the air, goes away. Back away until he stops doing that. You can start this far away from the horse. As long as you're just bringing his attention to the problem, you can do it from this far away. And then if you back off to here and then he starts to lower his head, just stay there. And you'll see he's going to start to feel something. He's going to start to shake his head, and he's going to start to fidget because it's bothering him. And then he'll show you a release. So try that too. But the other thing is start lower down, do the whole horse, and then come back up here again. You don't have to continue the whole line. If you end up breaking, it won't hurt anything. If you end up breaking what you think is the chain. Yeah? Okay, I'm gonna keep going down. Notice his neck, very lightly. You kind of have to wait till he stops fussing a little bit. And often flies will cause, them to blink, but pretty soon as you practice this, a lot of your questions will answer themselves. For example, flies. There are flies around his eye, and you can't tell whether it's you or him. But you start to read through that. If you're not sure it was, his eyes soften. If you're not sure it was you or a fly, go forward a few inches and go over it again. And if you get a blink at the same spot, then stay there. The other thing is, right here, I'm getting a lot from him, so I'm going to stay here. The other thing is, I forgot what the other thing is. The other thing is, stay there anyways and see what happens. If you're not sure he's blinking because of what you're doing or he's just blinking because of something else, just stay and see what happens. Stay for a half a minute. It could take 30 seconds, it could take 3 minutes. But you're not going to do it wrong. If you decide to go on, it's okay, you can come back to there later. Whoops, I got a little tiny blink there. So I could choose to stay here longer, or I could choose to go on, and I'm going to go on and say where I would normally stop with him, and wait. There it was right there, right here. Okay, see that? A little shake of his head, very subtle. You can see how you can really tune into your horse, and you also see how sensitive the horse is. They survive by being so sensitive. They're aware. They're so super aware of their environment. Right in here. Okay, I'm going to just spread my hand out. You might see more quicker from these other horses because they're not as stoic as Otis is. But you just have to look that more closely for the responses if you have a stoic horse. So I would stay there. I'm going to do a little trick. I'm going to stay there with one hand and keep over the other one. And I'm going to stand up one leg at the same time. Right in here. I'll just keep going. But that's about the speed. You're going to go just like that, not right there. I got a good blink here. And then that's about the speed, and that's the pressure. So anybody can do this. And another thing is you can do this anywhere on the horse. We have I'll do a mini commercial. We have a new video called Light to the Core, and it's using this light touch on specific areas of the horse to help release tension in specific areas of the horse. There are a lot of muscles, especially in the hind end, that are very deep up in there. It's a huge muscles. The pelvis is huge. This is a huge junction. And the core muscles and the groin muscles, deeper groin muscles, you can't actually massage. But if you spend enough time on certain points, in this area, for example, the psoas muscles, the core muscles attach under the lumbar spine, same as in a human, except we're up this way and they're that way. And if you search and stay with responses in this area, you're going to help the horse release core muscle. And other little tricks, and it works better when the leg toe is resting back. So if you can get him to, give me your toe, champ. Rest his toe a little bit. Good boy. Now don't go anywhere. Now I'm going to keep my hand here on his hock. Just let him know. He's pretty easy. And search up here for me. Right here, okay? Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 minutes. And sometimes he's going to switch legs, and so you're going to have to go to the other side or come back. But you get psoas credit. It builds up. You don't have to do it in 4 minutes straight. That you'll help him to release tension in these muscles. Now, my right, this hand is just asking him to stay up, rest here. So if you ask him to rest his toe and you take your hand off, a lot of times they put it back. But if you keep your hand on, a lot of times they'll stay there. Now he's pretty easy. Right in here. So I would stay in here a long time, 3 or 4 minutes. And if you lose the blink, search around again and find it. I call it following the blink. Right here. Or the look. Get your hand off my psoas. I don't even know you. That's what he's thinking. No, that's not. I'm making that up. But anyway, sorry. Anyways, you can release a lot of deep tension in the horse's muscles by following what the horse's body is telling you and using a level of pressure that he's not going to, his survival instinct is going to kick in and brace again. Where was I going? So this area is very important, especially for hind end stuff, The core muscles tighten up to protect pain in the hind end. Like if my feet get sore, my back starts killing me. and I do some exercises to activate my core muscles, my back stops hurting so much. So, not 100%. So, now we're not getting huge responses from him, but we are seeing the subtle responses. Stay here, buddy. Don't go anywhere. I'll keep my hand on his leg here. We are seeing how the subtle responses work. He's a very stoic horse. He's the kind of horse that when you leave the stall, he's going to start yawning, you know, after you've gotten a lot of releases. And I think I told the story. He's starting to relax already. He can't help it. But I've told the story this weekend. A lot of horses don't want you to see when they're releasing. They don't want to give you that. They don't want to be expose themselves. You know, they don't want to be vulnerable. So they don't want you to see when they release. So they'll hold it in. And I was working on a horse, a show horse once, and I took the horse's blanket off and threw it over the stall door. And I was working on the horse, and I'd step back to see what the horse had to say, which we do every once in a while. You know, every couple minutes, step back and give the horse some space. And he would just grit his teeth. I knew he wanted to yawn, but he would, while I was watching. So I just kept working, because I knew it was working. And then at one point, I stepped back to see what he had to say, and he went up and put his head under the blanket and yawned 6 times. So that just demonstrates, you know, they're a survival animal. They still have, that's how they operate, on survival instincts. That's how we train them. We train them using their instincts, hopefully, not ours. If he wants to turn this way, we'll turn this way. So, with this guy, and I'll just talk about their situations right now. With this guy, he's sound. She rides him. She's got his canter worked out really well. She's had a good trainer, but every once in a while something kicks in. And often muscles will protect something, and when the muscles that are protecting it get fatigued through work, all of a sudden they feel that muscle that's spasms because they aren't able to protect it, and then it'll show up. So that happens sometimes. Other times what happens is when the horse is standing in the stall overnight, they come walking out in the morning and they're short-strided behind, or it's one side or the other, or both. And so what's happened is overnight things have tightened up and they warm out of it. They call it warm out of it. But when they warm out of it, it's kind of covering up. There's still something initially there that's causing them to be short-strided. Once they warm up, it's fine, but you want to find out what's there underneath of that to make the horse healthy and happy. Does that make sense? So, rather than ignore it, because they're not going to write you a letter and say, I'm hurting here. You know, you got to pay attention to what they're doing and not ignore what they're telling you. So, I don't know, maybe Otis can write. So anyways, this guy, there was nothing specific. And this morning I went over him to work on him a little bit to see what showed up. You just go to work on him and start at the head. You release tension in the pole, in the neck, in the neck shoulder withers junction. You come to the hind, you release tension back here. Then you do the midsection, and you just see what the horse has to say along the way and where he's releasing. And that might give you an idea of what's bothering him might be. But when you get right down to it, it doesn't matter where it is. It only matters that it releases, okay? So if you get too caught up in the where and the what, you lose track of what the horse is telling you, and you're not able to follow what the horse is telling you and get whatever the tension is to release. So, make sense? Or you want us to do more than just looking for blinks? So, look, we could do more. I just wanted to explain, this is really good to explain how the horse operates on survival, how sensitive they are, and how, if you learn how to follow the horse and use the correct levels of touch, that you can get the horse to release a lot of tension on his own. This spot right here, I got on this spot and he's looking around for an escape route. Should I try for that door? No, I'm just making all that up. But I spend a lot of time working in stalls with horses and I get bored and I start to make up conversations. That's all that is. I'm not an animal communicator. Now, we're going to do some other stuff. Oh, I can talk about, I did talk about disco. And on the left hind, once disco started to relax, you could really see her having trouble letting the left hind leg relax. She starts to relax it and then picks it up again. Her stance on Friday was way out here, back here, and she kind of walked like this, and now she's more under herself, and her legs are closer together, and she's starting to be able to relax the left hind without feeling something spasm. So we're making improvements, and so we'll see how disco does in the next week or two, and good, bad, or ugly, we'll put it on the newsletter what happened, because you can't always fix the problem. You're just looking for an improvement, okay? Well, we've been working on her a little bit for 3 days, and that's a lot. So when you do the work on the whole horse and do a lot of work on the horse, they need at least 4 or 5 days, a week to process it. Their nervous system processes it. And also for muscles that might have been tight for a long time, when they let go, they're using new muscles, so you don't want to go back to work right away. You want to give it a few days. And plus, you don't want to go back and do more body work too soon, because her body hasn't gotten used to this work, the work you've already done. So the short answer is a week. Now, that doesn't mean you got to work on it for every week for the rest of her life. How often you work on the horse, it depends on how tight everything was when you started, and it depends on what's causing it. So, primary issues that cause tension in the body: feet, saddle fit, tack, dental issues, metabolic issues like insulin resistance, or they make issues that make the horse's muscle sore. Anything that makes the horse's muscle sore. But let's take for like show horses, for example. I like it when they do this while I'm working on them. And I won't even think about it. I'll go to the psoas points, when the horse rests his leg. But show horses' feet are a big thing, and especially hunter jumpers. Front feet, for some reason, you would think high, but front feet are a big issue with them. That most of the weight's on the horse's front end. They're in the stall a lot. They show, they school, they go back to the stall, so they don't get to go out and walk around a lot, so their feet get sore. Sore feet create tension in the pole, and they create tension. Just to give you, for example, a lot of tension in the pole, often the same side as the foot that's most sore. And they'll often create tension in the lower neck on the opposite side. When that front foot starts to get more sore and they're compensating, every stride they're twisting, they get tight in the lower neck on the left. And they'll also be tight in the glutes and the sacrum and glutes on the left side, the diagonal. So, for example, that's a very basic pattern with the horse. So, one point being that whatever is causing the muscle tension in the body shows up as patterns in the body that might help you point where to have the horse looked at. And the other is that pain in the feet causes pain in the body. So, poor saddle fit, that's an easy one, So I think where I'm going with this, if you don't find what's causing the pain and tension in the body, it's going to come back. So you're going to have to work on the horse more regularly than if a show horse that has a foot issue, maybe navicular or whatever in the foot, you're going to have to work on a pretty regular basis to keep him loose and his muscles happy and healthy and keep the range of motion. But a horse that might be, you ride once a week and he's good and solid, like this guy's a very solid horse. You might only have to work on him every 6 months, because if his job isn't real hard, he doesn't have anything that's causing the problem to start with. So does that make sense? Yeah, so her question is, if you were going to ride the horse, would you not ride it that day? Well, a couple of things. It works best on a cold horse, so you would want to work on it before you ride him. If you're not this horse doesn't have a whole lot going on, so when you work on him, it's going to be maybe half an hour, 45 minutes. You're not going to do a lot on it, and you're just going to go out on a trail ride, that's going to be fine. But say if this guy was the first time I worked on him, he was going in a Grand Prix jumping class tomorrow, and I found him to be really tight in certain areas, and I got him loosened up. I run the risk of him not going well the next day because his body hasn't gotten organized to it. Or something might be, muscles are tight for a long time, and they release, they're sensitive. So again, it depends on the situation, but you want to give the horse time after the body work to just move in a loose manner. Turnout is the best thing. It works better when the horse isn't warmed up, when they're cold. This particular type of body work, this isn't massage or stretching. This is asking for movement in a relaxed state, so that the relaxation being the key part. So if a horse has just been out working, and you come and you want to do a scapular release, which I'll do on him. Scapular release down and forward. And the goal is for him to drop the scapula in a relaxed state, and so the muscles move in a relaxed state, and he's been working. It's hard for those muscles to be completely relaxed. So I'll do one of them just for experience. I just want the scapula to drop down and forward, so I'm going to ask him for the foot, get under his toe, support his leg. This is where I'm going to watch. I want that to drop as I slowly hold the weight of the leg and bring it down. I want that to drop like that, okay? It's not a huge drop, only an inch or two, as long as it's relaxed. So Now I went in and worked on him since early this morning, and he couldn't do this. He was especially the right one, was very tight and uncomfortable. But after doing it a couple times in the stall, and then giving his body time to process it, he's able to do this nice and loosely, okay? Now if he had been out working, and it would be harder for him to do that, to relax it. Does that make sense? I'm gonna do it down and back. Just turn this way, buddy. Face your fancy. Good boy. He's pretty easy to work on. Give me a little toe, face forward, bring the leg back. When he pulls away, don't pull back, just go with him. You don't want him pulling on you, you want him to relax it. I'm gonna support up under his knee and ask his foot to come down and back. He feels something there, so he pulls up, go with him, and try to go slower. You want him to relax through that spot where he felt the discomfort. Does that make sense? As I lowered his scapula, he felt something, and he pulled up. So I went with him, and I supported again, and support the weight and